The day the jet rolled to a dead stop on the runway felt like the moment fate finally noticed a man the world had forgotten. Under the burning sun, with heat rising from cracked concrete and engines whining into silence, a struggling mechanic stood frozen beside a machine worth more than his entire lifetime. His hands were stained with grease, his clothes worn thin by years of hard labor, and his heart heavy with debts, loss, and quiet prayers that never seemed to reach the sky. He had no idea that this single breakdown would shatter his suffering and rebuild his destiny in ways he could never imagine. Before the story goes any further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. The mechanic had spent his life working in the shadows of hangars, fixing what others discarded and keeping machines alive long after they were meant to die. His workshop was small, barely holding together under leaking roofs and unpaid bills, but it was all he had left after life took nearly everything from him. Years earlier, illness had drained his savings, and a series of bad decisions and worse luck had pushed him to the edge. Every morning, he woke up with the same ache in his chest, wondering how long he could keep going before everything collapsed. Still, he showed up. Still, he worked. Because work was the only thing that made him feel useful in a world that no longer cared. When the private jet malfunctioned just minutes before departure, panic spread quickly. This was no ordinary aircraft. It belonged to a billionaire whose time was worth more than gold, whose meetings shaped markets, and whose schedule could not bend for anyone. Security stood alert. Assistants whispered urgently, and the air felt tight with impatience. Several technicians examined the jet, shaking their heads, suggesting expensive replacements and delays that could last days. Every minute felt like a ticking bomb. That was when the struggling mechanic was called in as a last resort. He was not famous, not recommended by elite firms, and not dressed for attention. He walked slowly around the aircraft, listening, observing, touching the metal like an old friend. He noticed details others ignored, felt vibrations others dismissed, and trusted instincts built over decades of survival. The problem was hidden deep within the system, subtle and dangerous, the kind that could be missed by computers but sensed by experience. As he worked, sweat rolled down his face and into his eyes. His hands trembled not from fear of failure but from exhaustion and hunger. He knew one mistake could end everything, but he also knew that walking away would haunt him forever. He stayed, focused, patient, pouring every ounce of knowledge into the task. Hours passed, the sun dipped lower. Tension grew heavier with every passing moment. Finally, something changed, a quiet shift, a correction so small it seemed insignificant. When the system restarted, the jet responded like a living thing taking its first clean breath. Engines hummed smoothly, instruments aligned, and the problem that threatened disaster vanished as if it had never existed. Silence fell over the runway, followed by disbelief. The billionaire, who had watched from a distance, stepped closer. He saw not just a repaired jet, but a man who had refused to give up when the world gave up on him. There was no celebration, no dramatic applause. Just a long look that carried curiosity, respect, and something deeper. The mechanic expected a payment, maybe a nod of acknowledgement, and then a return to his small, broken life. But what happened next changed everything. The billionaire did not rush away. He asked questions, not about the jet, but about the man, about his work, his life, his struggles. The mechanic, unused to being seen, shared pieces of his story with quiet honesty. There was no self-pity, only truth. Years of hard work, constant setbacks, and an unshakable belief that doing good work still mattered. That night, the mechanic returned home expecting nothing more than another day survived. But the following morning, his phone rang with a call he almost ignored, thinking it was another bill collector. Instead, it was an invitation that felt unreal. The billionaire wanted to meet again. Over the next weeks, the mechanic's world began to shift. He was offered resources, not as charity, but as trust, a chance to rebuild his workshop, to train young mechanics from struggling backgrounds, to create opportunities where none existed before. The billionaire had seen something rare that day on the runway, something money could not buy, integrity under pressure. The mechanic struggled to believe it. Years of disappointment had trained him to expect loss, not miracles. But slowly, carefully, he allowed hope back into his life. His workshop transformed into a place of learning and pride. Young people who once stood on street corners now stood beside engines, learning skills that gave them purpose. The mechanic watched them with a fullness in his chest he had not felt in decades, yet the greatest change was not financial, it was internal. For the first time in years, the mechanic slept without fear. He walked taller, smiled more easily, and felt his life had meaning beyond survival. He realized that his suffering had not been wasted. It had shaped him into someone capable of handling opportunity with humility. The billionaire never took public credit. There were no headlines, no press releases. He simply continued supporting quietly, checking in, ensuring the mission lived on. He understood that true impact did not need applause. As time passed, the mechanic often thought back to that broken jet on the runway. What seemed like another burden had been the doorway to redemption. He understood then that sometimes life breaks things not to destroy us, but to reveal who we truly are when everything is on the line. If this story is touching your heart right now, please pause for a moment and show your support. Like this video, share it with someone who may feel invisible, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope alive. Just before the end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words "Kindness still wins" if you believe that doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, can change lives. In the end, the struggling mechanic did not become famous. He did not chase wealth or recognition. What he gained was far greater. He gained peace, purpose, and the knowledge that one honest act, done with heart and skill, can ripple through lives in ways we may never fully see. The billionaire's jet flew again that day, but more importantly, a broken man found his wings. And if this story moved you even a little, if it reminded you that hope can arrive at the most unexpected moment, please engage with this video. Your support means more than you know. Because somewhere, right now, someone is standing beside a broken dream, unaware that it might be the beginning of everything.